What's going on, everybody? It is episode 2 of the Q4 Master series. We are going to be talking about organization and systemization. And I put it with a Z, but feel free to change it if you want. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on this video because it's not a very visual video, and of course that's going to put people off because they don't want to be staring at a blank screen for the whole video. So I'll try to whiz through them as fast as I can, but all the topic touching onto why they're so important, and what I mean by organization and systemization. Now, of course, a lot of things will overlap. A lot of things that I've already talked about and we'll talk about in the other videos and the other episodes will, semi overlap, but I'm trying to break them down for you just so you've got a little bit more sort of organization or a little bit more sort of structure to what I'm doing, basically. So I've separated these two sections here and here into two parts. Now this is more day to day, Q4 prep, being organized over Q4. Already having a sort of regime ready to implement when things start to really get kicking off, basically, for Q4. And this is other things that I will go over that you need to not only do. These are some things you need to do in advance for Q4. So I'm meaning up to from now to the end of the month or beginning of October. And then other things just to think about. Just why not add them in at the end anyway, just for a bit of extra content. So when it comes to Q4, you are going to be overwhelmed with everything. It's going to be so fast and, non-stop, and you're almost going to not know where you are at times because everything is going to go so much faster than, the other months. So what you already want to get down is some key essential things that you need to be managing and maintaining and organizing, systemizing and doing all that, pretty much within when the Q4 picks up, we need to be on top of these things. Now I'm going to briefly go over why, because when you're in Q4, all you're thinking about is sourcing, and you get to the point where when you start noticing your pickup in sales, you drop everything else and you are literally just sourcing products, and all you are thinking about is buying the products, getting them delivered to either a prep center or yourself, and getting them in as fast as you can, because you're doing record days. You might be doing your first £1,000 day. You might be doing your first £2,000 day. And for me, I want to do my first £5,000 day. Now, who knows if that's going to happen, but that's the aim. And when you're looking for those figures, it's very easy to just forget everything else. But if you do, it could have decent and vast consequences. You need to be able to smash and tackle these basically as quickly as you can each day. If you're taking it seriously, of course. If people have virtual assistants, you can outsource a lot of this. But if you're not, you should be at least have a structure to your day so that every evening or every morning or however you want to do it, you are looking at every single aspect of this. Now, let's go over these. Obviously, there's many other areas in an Amazon Seller Central that you're going to have to look at, but these are the key ones. Feedback. You are doing so much more in terms of volume that it's so easy to just forget your feedback. You're going to be getting so much more feedback, and it's easy to forget it because you're just looking to make the sales. Now, you don't want to be getting those negative feedbacks because maybe you've rushed it, you sent in stock, and you've actually sent the wrong product in because you're just trying to get as many products as you can. It does get a little bit overwhelming at times, and you may actually find that you've done something wrong. And the fastest way to pick it up is from a feedback or looking at the return sheet. They're sort of related, but normally the return will happen. You'll get a notification, and then a couple of days later, it will actually show up on your return sheet, but the feedback will actually go on first. So keeping on top of that feedback, making sure you're just trying to keep that 5-star feedback, or it's stars, 5-star feedback as much as you can, because you will notice that you'll probably get a decent increase in that, and you don't want to before you know it get some have a 4.2 or something because you get a couple of negatives in a row because you haven't looked and you could have rectified it after the first issue. Okay, now of course returns will fall into it and you'll be able to identify exactly why things are getting returned, but you'll quickly easily see if it's just a normal return or if there's an issue and you need to address it, because the last thing you want is to be suspended or have a shipment blockage or ASINs blocked because you have done something wrong. That is the last thing you want. So by doing this, you're going to try to avoid any of that, basically a bottleneck, in terms of, you just don't want anything to be held up, because time is of the essence in Q4. Shipments, it is very easy to not look at your shipments. You're happy that all these emails are coming in saying received, shipping's received, checked in, complete, amazing. You're like, yes. I've got 6 new shipments today, 10 new shipments today, 20 new shipments today. But if these shipments have got problems, maybe you're not, putting the right quantities in, maybe you're not polybagging or doing it under the correct specifications in terms of, sizes for boxes or weights are wrong. It is very easy to even have your whole shipping ability halted, where you're not able to send in any more boxes until you acknowledge issues. Now, of course, you don't want to be acknowledging issues for the sake of it, just because it's Q4 and you want to be sending in more boxes. If you've got 50 boxes to send off this week, well, you don't want to be sitting around waiting for them to get back and rectify the problem. You might just acknowledge the problem, but then that's not good on you, because if something happens later on down the line, of course, you acknowledge these issues which weren't really your problem. But if you just stay on top of them, hopefully you're able to limit any longer term impact problems. Okay, moving on. You want to be staying on top of your inventory adjustment reports. Can be done, I do it weekly, it can be done monthly, daily. You're going to be doing so much more volume, again, that you'll be getting there'll be a lot of stock moving around Amazon's warehouses relating to your stock. There's just going to be more activity, because obviously you're probably sending in more stock. Everything's selling faster, so it's moving around the warehouse, it's moving through, it's shipping, it's doing all that sort of thing on a far more frequent basis. And you want to be keeping on top of an inventory adjustment report in terms of making sure you're being repaid all the money you should be from Amazon. Of course, by the end of Q4, that is going to be vitally important, because you would have done all your sales and you want to be making sure they're giving you all of your reimbursements correctly. And there's many, normally 60 to 70% they'll give you, and there's about 30 to 40% of reimbursements, which they never give you. And if you do not do this every week, you could be losing thousands. And back a couple of years ago, when it was made aware in the group, one of the groups, about this, some sellers were getting back thousands of pounds just by doing an inventory adjustment report. And of course, account health. You don't want to be literally just selling every random item that you can find because you want to do £1 million in sales or something, and you find that you actually start getting policy warnings. And then when you're getting these policy warnings, you're not realizing, and you might be selling a brand that is, actually a private label brand, but you might be starting to sell not just one item, but 2, but 3, but 4. And because you're not keeping on top of these every day, because it's going to be so much more easier to sell a vast sort of spread of products than maybe what you might sell 3 or 4, 5 times more than what you might sell the rest of the year. So you're going to start broadening out your different brands and actually find out that you can obviously come over some issues. And there's no point having a great Q4 if you can never sell on Amazon again. There's just no point having 3 months of nirvana to have a lifetime full of hurt. Moving on. So this is something I'm going to be staying on top of. Apart from the inventory adjustment reports, which is going to be, every week, the others I'm going to be checking every single day, because I want to be rectifying any problems right away. I don't want to have to hold up any of the logistics side, my side, like the shipments, what I'm buying. If I can't send a shipment in, well, maybe I won't buy any stock today because I'm just a bit unsure if I'm going to, be able to send it in, and that is just the last thing you want to be having. So moving on to some slightly more advanced sections. This is all sort of falling under being organized for Q4. That's ultimately what this whole sort of talk is about. What you want, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it, whatever way you want. But for me, I use SELLERBOARD. So I'm looking back at I'm basically analyzing my Q4 2018 and my Q3 2019 data to get a good placehold of where I am and what my stock's doing. Because on SELLERBOARD you can input all of your costs for your products, and I can easily bring up a nice report to show the quantities that I'm selling per either per month or per quarter. So per quarter will give me a nice like, you know, overall quarter. So I might look at Q3, be like, okay, all of my replenishable products, I'm going to look at anything above 50% return, I will continue to sell. Anything below 50%, I'm actually going to cut back on, because I want to utilize that cash flow in to seasonal products for Q4, such as toys, chocolates, you know, advent calendars, or just party stuff, party foods, and that kind of thing, because the volume of these will be far higher. So you might take a little bit less in your margin. Instead of taking maybe 35% or 40, you might be taking 28, 32, but you're able to sell it 3, 4, 5, 10 times faster, which is overall going to give you a greater profit. So I'm going to use data from this to, of course, see where my best products are and where maybe not so much, you know, the products that are maybe making the sort of scraping the barrel at 30%, maybe I won't sell them because I don't need to now. I can actually utilize the toy category and all those other categories, which you can do all year round. But it's so much more valuable over Q4 because you can do literally 10, 20, 30 times the amount of sales in some of the toy product on some of the toy products. Well, when I say some, I mean like hundreds of lines, because the demand is just so high, and I don't want to be selling, you know, random grocery items that I sell during the year when I just need to, you know, do what sells. I need to just do the volume. You know, if I can get a £5,000 day, you know, I'm happy to take 25%. You know, if you can do multiple £5,000 days, it's sort of very, you know, in Q4 it's very much the numbers game. And what I'm also going to be looking at is Q4. I want to be seeing the number of products I'm selling. Now, I might look back to Q4 2018 and see I did 150 of one toy line over the Q4. I could even break it down even more to see how much distribution was between December, November, and October. And there's pretty much most of it with November, December. And I can then go, okay, that rank was 10,000 in toys, let's say. So I now know that, and you know, if you've done this already, you'll know that if you could have sold more, if you could have sold less, you have a good feel for your previous Q4s because you remember them so well, and you know like what you could have done better. But this is just to refresh you and to get you ready for what you need to do, because you like everyone will know for Q4, if you're getting to the day that sales are picking up for Q4 and then taking the action, you're too late. Everything is got to be completely done in advance, and then all you got to do is just keep up that intensity. But if you're waiting till then to start, I want to see Q4 actually materialize. I want to see my sales go up. I might buy a little bit more, but I'm not going to go too gun-ho on my quantities. You know, if you haven't done a Q4 before, of course, it's maybe you just want to sort of see what it's like, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But you are a bit late to fully get the full potential, because what happens is you have 1 or 2 great days, but you haven't got the quantity, the volume of stock at Amazon to really push on for the other weeks to come. Because if you think about it, let's say mid-November, you'll sell out of a line. You have 20 units. Well, it's no guarantee you can go and get that again. And if you do have a chance to get it again, how long will it take to get in, and how many days are you losing where you could be selling 20 a day? So that's why you've got to, you'll see it, but then you will never be able to get the full potential out of it because you're already too late. You've seen a glimpse of it. Now you pull the trigger, but that means it's now it's taking you a week to get it all back in, and then you get overwhelmed, and it's all very much like that. And you need to be in a position already, almost have all your stock in for Q4 before the actual sales pick up, and then just keep pushing because you have plenty of stock there. You're not in so much of a panic, and it's not so much of a necessity to get it in by like, I have to get it in 24 hours, otherwise I'm going to lose some sales. You just do, of course, if you haven't done it, it's very hard to get that mindset, but that is how it is. And just for example, Q3 2019, I can look at the quantities I've sold of products and put a rough estimation on how many I would sell over Q4. Is it seasonal product? Yes or no? If it's not, I would expect to sell the same. If it is a little bit of a seasonal item, an example would be, like some sort of like sugar, literally something as simple as sugar. Sugar could be used for cakes. Well, how many people are really going to be making a lot more cakes? Some will. People might have parties and make cakes. Like I sell a lemon meringue pie mix. This is something very simple. Throughout the year, it will sell. Will it sell more Christmas? Around the Christmas period when people have parties? Probably a little bit. But how much would it really? Maybe 1.5 times what it's been selling. So instead of 10 a month, it might sell 15. There's not a massive extra demand there, but it is there. And you can put together a spreadsheet of all the products and a rough weight of what you believe it will increase. If it's a toy product, of course, well, and you sold 20 of it over Q3, you might be able to sell 120 over Q4. Or you might look back to Q4 2018 and go, right, I sold 200 chocolates. I believe I could have sold 600. Divide 600 by 3 if you really want to do it sort of as loosely as that, and you buy that, and you now make the action of buying in October 200, in November 200, and so on. But you're already making the decisions and then taking the actions in advance of when the event actually arises. That is what you want to be getting into. You want to be already in a position with everything, so that you don't have to go and actually do any work to get to the point where you're making a decision. All you're doing is literally taking the information you already have, all the data, and then literally just clicking a button. I'm going to buy 150 because I've looked at all my data, and the data is saying that is a good quantity to buy, and not 50 if you're a little bit more sort of new to the game. Maybe you would only buy 50, but you already know in advance, and I'm trying to help I'm trying to give you a little bit more of a, if you are new, I'm trying to give you a little extra help, because it's far easier to probably buy less than it is to buy more. Now, I mean, obviously, what's more and what's less? If you're buying 30 to 50, that's less. If you're buying 100 to 200, it's a little bit more. If you're buying 500, of course, the units of a product, you're starting to pick up the real high end, that sort of seller side of things. But if you're looking, shall I buy 20 or 30? Buy 40. It's pretty much as easy as that. And what I used to say, just monitor it over the months. If you see things aren't selling, maybe you're happy to take a little bit of a cut, because if you can get that money back, yeah, you might not be taking 35% return, you might make 30 or 28, but you can get that money out and buy new stock, that's going to probably sell 10 times what it would be, and you can do £10,000 from £2,000 cash injection. Not financial advice. But it's so, the amount, as long as you implement everything correctly, it's not as difficult as you think, because Q4 sort of, it plays itself. The story plays itself. It's, all I've got to say is what happens at Christmas to every single person in the country, probably the world, and they're going to sell. People spend thousands on kids, and there's lots of presents and the Christmas trees. It's, everyone already knows. So you just got to believe and go with your actions, and it's far easier. It's far easier to underbuy, I feel, as long as you're not going stupid and buying 500 of one item, so on and so on. Of course, when you're getting that high, it's, there is a little bit more risk, and there is a little bit more sort of calculated risk in terms of what you're doing there. Another side of things is the purchase log, replenishables and categories. Now, over the years, over the months, however long you've been doing Amazon, you would have built up a nice purchase log of all the products you have purchased, all the ASINs, the quantities, the prices, where you've bought it. And by preparing, I go back 2 or 3 years into my Q4 purchases for all the previous years, and I can normally get at least 50% of those items again in a sale over Christmas, and I just rinse and repeat. I might have paid for a software or service back in the day. I I'm now getting value from that product or service, now. And you do not want to be overlooking that data, because that data, I think I sold 150 BB8s last Christmas just by going over my data and being like, oh, I sold the year before 100 BB8s. Do you reckon I could buy them again? And I could. But a lot of people might think, oh no, there'll be the new crop of toys in this year. They will be the popular products. It is not so clear cut, because if you think about it, Lego's been around for so long, and most of the what do they call them? Kits, not even called kits, are they? Whatever they're called. Most of them have been that for years, and they're always popular, and it never changes. So you need to utilize your data that you already have. You paid for this data; it's worth something. You've spent money, like paying for service and then building these leads up. You just don't want to ignore them after that point. It wants to be your Bible. I treat my replenishable and purchase as the Bible, as the foundations of the whole business I have. So you want to be, even going through and splitting them into categories. So beauty, health and personal care, electronics, toys, groceries, chocolates. You can go into subgroups, chocolate is part of groceries and so on. And then putting a percentage increase. It could be toys, you're going to say is an average of 5 to 10x the number of products it would sell in other months. And then maybe groceries 2 to 3. Health and beauty, and so on and so on. And then go into those and then accumulate, or basically look at your purchase quantities that you've been doing, and then again make a little prediction, like what you spent over the month, the accumulated. So you might buy 50. I'm going to look to buy 80. And you're not going off your own emotional decision. You're going off data. And as I always say, data doesn't lie. Data doesn't take sides. Data doesn't have an emotion. It doesn't go, I don't like that person today, so let's not give him the sales. Data is what you should be doing every decision on. And it's irrelevant what you even think. That's literally how you should be going about it. And I keep saying literally, so it's annoying me just as much as it probably is annoying you. And by having this data already, it's like when things start kicking off, you're like, right, groceries, go. Maybe my cash flow isn't so strong this week. I've not sold as much. I'm going to cut back on the groceries because that is the lowest Xing category over Christmas. It's only going to be 2x in sales, not toys as 10x. My focus is now on toys. You use your cash flow up for that. You buy everything you can. You've used all your software and services. You're like, right, I've got $4,000 now. Right, let's move on to the 6x items, or the 4x or the 5x, however you sort of, put a value on it. Electronics, hair dryers, that sort of thing. People are going to be buying over Christmas. Stocking fillers, DVDs, and you work your way through the list. And you use this as your Bible, and you also then build on it with your other sourcing software. So I had a video out just before episode 1 showing what softwares I'll be using. I'll be using a sort of hybrid of about 3. So normally I'll use online arbitrage deals. I'll use Fast-Track FBA and FBA Wizard now. I've gone to reasons why. And of course I use my purchase log, replenishable cap, whatever this thing is I'm just talking about now. And I'll be using them because they're all different. They're all utilizing a different way of finding products that I'm going to, so if one doesn't give you the results you want on one particular day, you can always go into you can always use the others, and you don't rely on one thing. That's ultimately the picture. God damn, I keep saying that. You just don't want to rely on one thing, because if you have it's okay to have a bad day, you can't find any stock, everything's out of stock maybe, but then if you have too many of that can then really have a massive impact on your Q4 overall sales. And you have too many days where you're just maybe being a bit lazy, or you haven't found leads, or it will be a big impact on the overall potential of what you could have had. For things that you can already prepare in advance, get everything set up. And it still doesn't mean that you won't use all those 4 or 5 methods and find nothing, but you're basically running down the odds. The probability is less likely that you're going to fail on any one day, because you're not relying on one particular method or system or software. Again, moving on. Out of stock. Amazon alerts. Now, it's very easy over Q4 to get caught up on all the different products you're selling and literally forget what is going on with your stock. You're going to run out of stock really easily, and you want to stay on top of that as fast as you can, because even if you're doing stuff for next day delivery, it's still going to be about a 72-hour turnaround. I might buy it at 3 p.m. I might, comes to about 2, 3, and I'm like, right, I've done my prepping for the day. If you're prepping yourself, let's look at anything I need to get back in. What have I done for the last 24 hours in sales? You then start getting everything in line, but you're like, I was out of stock yesterday on that product, but I've only just realized maybe it was. And I would say utilize next day deliveries, because if you're doing £500, £1,000 purchases, £2,000 purchases, £5 or £3.99, this is like a couple of pence on every product you're going to be selling, which, if that's an issue, you've got the wrong products. So, but these 72, an example, last year, I was selling some chocolates, Christmas themed chocolates, and I was buying 50 or 60 of one item. Now, I already do that now, so it's not even that much, But back then, 50 or 60 was quite a lot of just one type. I was sending it in, it was booking in at about 4 in the afternoon, but by about 8 o'clock at night, all of them were sold out. Well, the issue with that is now, what happens? I was staying on top of it, because all I could see was the same item, just one after another in a list under my orders. So obviously I noticed, but how quick can I get that back in stock? Maybe 48 hours if I'm lucky, depending on how UPS and that are. And how many sales am I missing? I probably lost 500 units of potential sales. But because and that's me staying on top of it. But it's what you're losing out. And that's where I also bring that back to the being prepared in advance, because it got to the point where no matter how much I was, trying to keep up with the demand, I just could not keep up with the demand. And as everyone will say, even the more advanced sellers will say, the capital is the end of you. There's always something that's the end of you over Q4, and you always believe you could have done better if you had something. If I, could have a help prepping, or if I could have an extra 10 grand for stock, or there's always something anyway, and you're definitely going to think that. So don't think you're the only one. But I just could not. I was buying 100, 150 of the units, but I would have had to have bought like 1,000 to 2,000 to even be in stock for a couple of days. And imagine like buying, what would that be? That's going to cost me 4 or 5 grand for one item. And if you can get as much as you can in advance prepared for that, then you're going to start getting. You have time to adjust, and also you're able to not go out of stock so fast, so you're able to do really, really high amount of sales, get that cash back, but you're still in stock to then get back into stock again, because you've just got £1,000 to £2,000 back maybe on 100 or 200 items that you've sold. If I had 400 units of that, and you're able to not be affected so much by being out of stock all the time. And it's not, I wouldn't even, I say most of the time, it's like having products to source is only like 30% of where you find products from. Most, if you look at the potential losses in earnings just by being out of stock, or maybe not buying enough, or maybe not managing that side of thing, you don't even need to spend all hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of product lead, because it's free just to better manage your sort of current stock levels and the numbers you're buying from your current leads. And that's a huge part of it as well. And again, something so simple, but you'll be surprised at how fast you just blitz through prep material. If you're getting a prep center, you're getting a prep center, not a problem. If you're not, you'll think it's just, I've got plenty of boxes, plenty of this, plenty of that. At one time, you do a big order and you run out of a certain size poly bag, and you just got to leave that product on the side because you can't put it in. You can't. You can get Amazon. You could do it. I have done it before. You get Amazon to do it, but then that's going to take that. You're going to have to take it to the side and poly bag it. So it's still going to take. It's still going to be delayed, and it's all of these little things. If you're organised and prepared in advance, and you build your systems, build some smart systems. It doesn't have to be complex systems. It's just a system, a daily system. I will do this every day. A daily system, I will do this. But then that falls into, you have to be organized. You have to be organized and prepared in advance. And once you've got the foundations for Q4, you can then keep on top of it far easier, and you don't feel like you're going out of stock on half of your lines. You might sell a couple of hundred different products. If you're going out of stock on half your lines, that's a lot of keeping on top of it just to try to maintain, not even push on. And you'll find that, obviously you can't get your stock in instantly. So even if you're staying on top of it and you're going out of stock, you're really not, because you weren't prepared enough to be on, for it now, because now it takes a couple of days to actually get stuff in. So you're only really having one good day for every 3 sort of medium days, or 3 bad days, or however you want to put it. And it's all to do with just speed. It's all to do with speed. Even something little as, if a product is just not selling, someone's crashed the price, and you can get your stock out, and you know that it's not going to go up in any. It's going to take 6 weeks. It's taking 4 weeks. That cash is so valuable in Q4. £1,000 is the same as, like, 10 grand in cash injection could create 40, 50 grand in sales over the whole 3 months of Q4, just from 10 grand, where it may only do double or 3 times that. So you're able to act as if that cash is actually worth more, because you're able to do more with it in the shorter space of time. So if you've got money tied up in, some lines, which we'll all get that 1 or 2 or 3 different lines that someone's crashed the price and it's selling at almost nothing. I would say, just if you really can't see it actually going up at any time soon, just breaking even on your products, getting your cash out within a week, 5 days, 3 days, however fast you can get that out, and then you can use that cash to actually buy products that will make you profit. And because you can get it in and out so fast, you won't even notice that that product was a product that wasn't giving you any return, because the new product is now sold 5 or 6 times faster than when it would have done. So you've now bought 30, you sold 90 within the month, because you're just tackling it that way, and just looking to really be smart with Q4. You got to if you understand that Q4 is just a numbers game, that people are buying so much, you don't have to worry so much about retaining that higher margin overall. You can do, but are you going to do 100 grand in a month in sales? If you do 100 grand in a month and make 15 grand profit, well, actually, if you look at those numbers, the ROIs, the margins, that's not a huge percentage. But because it's on such a high number, 15 grand is still decent for anyone for 1 month's work. Yeah? And that is really where Q4 is. If you understand the beast of it, you can then adopt principles around it to complement the Q4 season, I guess. And by also making sure stuff like Profit Protector Pro, is utilized in accordance with that method or that model, the Q4, what it is, taking advantage of the high number of sales, you can really catapult your Q4 and just, I don't know how to say anymore, I think. And I'm going to leave the video there. on that note, at least it's a 30-minute video, because I'm basically just talking, which is sometimes a little bit boring. But I do feel like I've given some valuable little tips and an interesting view on how I see it, because everyone sees it differently, and I can only go by how I do things and what I see, and this is the way that I'm going to be doing it, implementing it. And who knows, let's see if I can get a £5,000 day, usually around Black Friday, if you want a little bit of an extra bit of info around the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or the weekend around it. That is usually when you'll see that crazy bump. Gonna leave it there. Any questions? Let me know. Hopefully you've got a little bit more insight and you can prepare a little bit more from some of this, and have a great Q4. See you later.